Good morning. Happy Faith Family Focused Friday, and welcome back to Season 2. I am Faith Suggs, one of your co-hosts, former Duke women's basketball graduate, and now CEO of my social media and branding company, Brand by Faith. This wonderful man next to me is my father, Schaefer Suggs, former NFL player with the New York Jets and the Cincinnati Bengals, and has also served on the executive board and as VP with the NFL Foreign Players Chicago, also known as the RPFPC. Good morning, Dad. How are you?
Good morning, Faith Suggs. How are you? Happy Friday.
Good. Wonderful Friday. Wonderful Friday. Good morning to all who are joining us. If you are joining us, remember to click that share button and then also come talk with us because we like to talk back on Fridays for some reason. Dad, how is the weather over there in Chicago?
The weather is great. And I don't know if you know this, but your dad is coaching again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 8 years old. So I'm a little sore from last night, but I am so excited. You know, it's in my wheelhouse to be with the kids. And it was funny because I shared the playbook with your brother, and he was just laughing because of all the plays that he remembered.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the kids are really having a lot of fun. So I'm really enjoying that. It's football season. I'm getting a chance to help out and coach Smith, his son Tyson. Good football player, great football player, and it just brings back a lot of great memories. And it goes along with the weather. The weather is great. It's cool. 70, 75 degrees today. It's football season. You don't get any better.
Football season. It is fall time. First day of fall is technically September 22nd, but hopefully we get a little of this cooler weather coming soon because it has been hot and rainy. You know, when the heat starts to rise and the thunderstorms start to come in, that is how it transitions us into fall. But I am ready for pumpkins. I'm ready for pumpkin spice lattes. I'm ready for sweaters and hats and gloves, but I'm not ready for that snow. So hopefully fall is a long one and a nice one. And I hope that football has a great season this year. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in football, though, while we're here. Cam Newton, give me your first initial thoughts on the Cam Newton release.
Well, you and I talked about it yesterday. I asked you, the media was putting a little focus on his COVID testing, and we had some issues with having because of testing positive or being close to contact. And
he also not vaccinated.
What is he vaccinated?
He's not vaccinated.
Not vaccinated.
Yeah, I made sure you add that in there.
Oh yeah. So let me close the loop out on that because I didn't realize that. But I like what you talked about yesterday. You know what, Faith? I'm gonna be honest with you. I have, his first 2 or 3 years, he was in maybe a class of his own, but the league has kind of caught up to what he is as a football player, his mobility. He just has not played to the same level that he played with the first 2 or 3, 4 years with consistency. So is he a great quarterback? Yes. Will he stay in the league for a long time? Yes. Is there an opportunity for him to be a starter somewhere else? Maybe. I think you said yesterday, maybe the reason that they decided to move him out was because he did not want to be there.
Yeah. So here's my initial, and I told you this. I don't think COVID had anything to do with all this because if we talk about Boston, we talk about vaccinations and stuff, they're a little iffy on how they do things anyways. I will say this about Cam Newton. We forget that Cam Newton is 32 years old. So people think that he's younger than he is. Cam Newton is not in the prime of his career anymore, and that's perfectly okay, right? I mean, you shouldn't be playing until you're 32 years old in the NFL, but we're seeing Tom Brady continue to defy the odds. So Cam Newton, Aaron Rodgers, all of them that have Russell Wilson, all of them who are up in their 30s are doing a great job. However, Cam Newton is not who Cam Newton was when he was an MVP. Cam Newton is not who he was when he went to the Super Bowl, which I have to remind people that he does have these accolades when he was in Charlotte. He was a great quarterback and a great quarterback at Auburn. But at the end of the day, youth is always going to be prioritized when we talk about the NFL, when we talk about the lasting of a season. You don't want to build a team around someone you don't know if they're going to make it through the season. Not saying Cam Newton would make it through the season, but at the end of the day, if you can choose a younger person who at the end of the day they say was he just completed his routes better. They said that he never had to be asked to do things twice. He always picked things up on the dime, which sounds a lot like Alabama athletes. Very disciplined, very understanding. It's not a surprise that they were like, look, we might as well go ahead and build off of this young man right here instead of building with Cam, who we don't know how long Cam is going to be here with us. Because you don't want to skip this young guy, right? And then he is thrown to the back, doesn't get opportunity to develop, and doesn't really give you your next Tom Brady. That's a big miss for.
Well, this situation is different, Faith, because you look at Chicago. They're waiting to play their quarterback. The relationship with Belichick and Saban is huge. So this kid has been recruited for a long, long time. Now, Belichick normally won't recruit a quarterback unless he has plans for that quarterback. And this quarterback played exceptionally well.
Yeah, they say he dotted his I's, he crossed his T's, he did what he needed to do. And at the end of the day, it's hard to do that. Even when you're a vet, like the decline in your career, and I'm saying Cam is terrible because his decline is some people's best careers ever, Mark Sanchez. And so if you really think about it, we're just watching one of these situations where I think that they said, Cam, we're going to go with this young man right here as our starting quarterback. However, we have a lot of respect for you and your career. Now it's up to you. Do you want to be second string, or do you want us to release you so you can go try to be second string somewhere you're actually going to play? Right. And I think that's what happened. I think Bill Belichick is way more advanced in how and above what the hoopla is that people want to say Cam Newton brings. I think that he sees his skill level. I think he sees that he's a great leader. I think that he sees that he's a great example for younger quarterbacks who are looking at the, evolution of what the quarterback is becoming. So I think that's what happened. And good morning. That's what I think happened for sure.
Well, Mac Jones is the real deal. He's the real deal.
And I don't think, and when Cam spoke out about it on Instagram that day, in a very Cam way, he said, it was basically no ill feelings. I'm on to the next. You know what I mean? It was on to the next.
Right. Well, that's a professional.
But it's also, yeah. Go ahead.
Right.
He also did say, though, that I'm better than 32 other people out here. So just know I will land.
Well, he's confident. He just got to now he's got to get back to playing with consistency. He's got to get back to that. And I was very disappointed. You might want to talk about this. I was very disappointed with the comment that someone said that maybe listening to rap music was hurting his football game. That was like, you didn't want to bring it up, but I did. I mean, that's just so. I just need you to comment on that.
Let me make sure I get the tweet. Okay, so Scott Zolak. And if you see this guy, it looks like he can't dance and clap his hands at the same time. He said that Cam Newton needs to stop listening to that rap music and maybe he'll throw better. Now, here's my thing. Michael Jordan.
Take a deep breath, Faith.
Allen Iverson. LeBron James. Kobe Bryant. All these great players in my mind, basketball-wise. And I'll throw Michael Vick in there because at the end of the day, he was a cultural icon. He still is a cultural icon for what he has done and redeemed himself. Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson. But hold on a second. Are you trying to tell me Travis Kelce doesn't listen to rap music? Travis Kelce has a great season. He won a quarterback. You think Patrick Mahomes doesn't listen to I'll tell you this. Patrick Mahomes doesn't listen to country music all the time. Rap music has nothing to do with your ability. And if rap music is the reason why you can't play, then you are the worst football player on the earth because that's supposed to motivate you to play well. That's the reason why they play that music in these locker rooms, on these fields, at these games. That's why rap music has been the push behind sports for so many years, right? You go to a baseball game, a lot of the guys' walk-up songs are Jay-Z, Kanye West, Drake. So, yeah, that was blatantly racist. I'll call it for what it is. We all know it was racist. It was very ignorant, but it's all right. Cam will land. The question is, where will Cam land? People are saying Atlanta. Someone said the New York Jets the other day, and I think that's a terrible idea because if you add Cam Newton to that mix, you throw off a young quarterback in a very, very hard place to play, whereas this is an opportunity for him to build confidence. We don't need Cam. Cam is a great asset to teams, but I don't think New York is a place you need to throw Cam in.
You know what? Send him to the Giants.
I just said don't send him anywhere in New York. I know what you mean. They say Houston, the Texans, because the Texans don't know what they got going on over there, and they need to resolve that. But yeah, but good stuff. I mean, it is good stuff. I don't think it was ill-advised. I don't think it was that surprising of a situation for people who were in it. I think everybody within the Patriots organization and Cam Newton's camp were somewhat feeling it, but they didn't think it would happen. I mean, it happened. We've seen a lot of players get released before. Carmelo Anthony got released. So, and now he's still Carmelo Anthony.
The timing of it and just so you know, in the NFL, guys who get to that last cut are normally guys that will get picked up immediately. So right now, those guys across the league, the high-profile veterans that have a proven track record, they're not necessarily cut because of their inability to play. There's salary cap decisions made. There's positions made. So there's opportunities for players who make that last cut to continue to stay in the league.
Yeah.
You got to understand, over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, 10% of each one of those rosters will change simply because of injuries and just different dynamics that will play over the next 3 or 4 weeks. So 100%. He's got to land somewhere. He's just got to find the right. I don't know. Do you think?
We forget. We love to forget. And I'll tell you this. The idea of the black quarterback has been one of the greatest evolutions to the NFL, right? We're seeing the position widen in diversity of what it can and cannot do, right? We're running the ball. We're running different kinds of plays. Different routes are happening. We're seeing a different personality come to that position, which is great to watch, right? We're seeing so much diversity come to the quarterback position in the NFL. Let's not forget that Cam Newton, Colin Kaepernick are Super Bowl quarterbacks. Let's not forget that they have these accolades on their shoulders, on their helmets, right? And it's hard to not get swept up in how the media creates this story, this narrative around these type of quarterbacks because they're not the ideal quarterback, and the world is not ready for that yet. But it's happening. We watched Lamar Jackson, who's a running back quarterback, who's a quarterback who can run past everybody out their sneakers. But it's just we're seeing the evolution. So this Cam Newton release, it very much could be perceived as one of those type of situations, but I think it was a mutual understanding. I don't think he really wanted to leave, I'll be honest with you, but I think that he understood I'm too good to be a backup in New England. And I think it was fine. And you're right, Dad. At the end of the day, Cam Newton demands a lot of money. So let's not forget that. Yeah. So like you said, but a lot of cool stuff happening over there. College football is kicking off.
Let me say something really quick, though, really about the evolution of the position of quarterback. Athletes that have played that position that just have to be black had that position has evolved into more mobility, and now it has transcended into not just black quarterbacks, but some of your really good white quarterbacks are really good as a result of their ability. Look at Josh Allen, you look at Joe Burrow. Those quarterbacks possess the same type of qualities. So because of the evolution of the black quarterback, being mobile, being accurate, okay, you have seen quarterback position really change to the traditional Tom Brady pocket passer type. I mean, he's successful, but you see a lot of quarterbacks. What they're looking for in quarterbacks is that dual threat.
Right.
Dual threat. So, I mean, Josh Allen is phenomenal. Joe Burrow, they're phenomenal quarterbacks. So I just wanted to share it. I just wanted to say that.
You just went mute, I believe. I couldn't hear you. Hold on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Okay.
So I'll pop you off and you just resolve that. And as I tell everybody a little bit about this new situation, if you have been with us since season 1, you would know one of our guests, Chris Eubanks, ACC Player of the Year for tennis. Great news, he has moved on to the second round of the U.S. Open in New York. He plays today, I believe, against, let me make sure I have the correct lineup for you guys. He plays against B. Fratangelo. I love tennis. It's the most diverse sport on the earth. Yeah, Chris has advanced for the first time into the U.S. Open past the preliminaries. He has moved on to the second round. Dad, I don't know if you know, is Chris Eubanks, our friend, is on to the second round of the U.S. Open.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're still muted.
Okay.
But yeah, so great stuff happening. If you are watching, give us a wave, a hello, a like. Let us know if you could hear Schaefer. If you couldn't, let us know. The software we use is always up in the air. But yeah, a lot of great stuff coming from Cam Newton to the U.S. Open, moving around. Naomi Osaka has been killing it over there at the U.S. Open. Coco, all those Sloane, all those great names that come off the Serena Williams umbrella. The U.S. Open is always a fun place to be. And if you guys have been watching, it's apparently the one place you can go that you aren't flooded in New York City and the Northeast right now. So a lot of people are at the U.S. Open. But yeah, we appreciate everyone for joining us this morning. Again, our goal is to use our stories and faith to strengthen the family core of our viewers and those around us. For those of you tuning in, we appreciate you. We are so excited to have you guys join us for this Friday morning. Friday is always our favorite. Dad, you good?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Muted. If you're watching and you can hear him, give us a thumbs up in the comments. That'd be really much appreciated. Today we're going to talk about something that's been really interesting. And if you're tuning in right now, we're talking about the Great Resignation. We've had the Great Migration. We've had this. We have this in our history. And right now we're in the middle of a historical moment that's happening. We call it the Great Resignation. If you don't know what it is, feel free to Google it. But oh, so you can hear him. Okay. I'll bring him back then. Thanks, guys. But yeah, we're talking about the Great Resignation. And I have a quick video for you to watch that kind of gives you the background of what it is and what it's all about. So stay with us real quick as I bring it up. Alrighty. The Great Resignation.
Sudden, it seemed like everyone I know was changing jobs or stepping off the career ladder.
In the month of May alone, 3.6 million Americans quit their jobs. And that's down from the month before, with almost 4 million walking out the door in April. A 2-decade high, by the way. It's what's being called the Great Resignation. The mass exodus comes as many companies are trying to get employees back into the office by the fall. So why are so many people leaving?
With the pandemic, I was kind of just like, it was a lot of reflection time. I know what I want out of my career. Might as well just make the move.
Some say they feel burned out after working through a year that had so many challenges.
People's mental health are so bad right now. Like, people are prioritizing that a lot more than like their jobs or anything else.
Others say working from home was isolating.
I love to go into the office, and I was like the kind of person I would write like a joke of the day on my whiteboard, which would bring people over to my cubicle. I think I just thrived on that, where even if the work wasn't great, it was the interaction just helped keep morale high.
But most people are less than thrilled about returning to the office, with 89% of workers saying they'd prefer to work remotely at least some of the time. 1 in 3 employees are considering leaving their job, according to personal finance website Magnify Money. And popular job search site Indeed estimates that as many as 9.8 million jobs are available in the U.S. as of mid-July. That's 1 million more openings than there are people looking for work.
Well, the good thing is for job seekers is that they are not only successful in interviewing, but also getting job offers and multiple offers. So that means that companies are competing for top talent. So it's a good time to be looking for a job.
These job openings are leaving holes in the market, with the service industry struggling to fill crucial roles.
I think we're seeing some holes in the job market in terms of people shifted career path. In turn, we're seeing some of the top jobs in Monster right now. One of the top jobs is food preparation. The others, for instance, are truck drivers and security guards and stock clerks.
I mean, what we've seen is that switching jobs is now easier than ever for a lot of people. There are more companies going remote. Maybe these are people who have saved some money over the past year. And so they're looking at their lives and saying, why am I living like this?
As employees continue to reevaluate their career priorities, it's unlikely this Great Resignation will be ending anytime soon.
In December.
Love it. If you've heard about it and you have heard about the Great Resignation, feel free to reach out to us in the comments. I want to hear what you think, because my dad had never heard about it, but I, as someone who actually participated in the Great Resignation this year, have a lot to say about it. Hello, Schaefer.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. I think that she could hear me. Well, we're having some technical difficulties, so now Faith will be back. The great the resignation. I know we can continue to talk about that. She'll jump back on when the show continues. But you're seeing a huge trend of people decide to opt out of working for various reasons. I kind of can relate, because I'm actually semi-retired, so I can really look at it. But very good friends of mine that are working, that worked in Chicago, living in Madison. The company is really trying to navigate on ways of getting some of their employees back to work, and they're really struggling with making that decision and justifying it with the expense of getting people back and possibly having a residency. And this is something that's been consistent across the board. You're seeing a lot of people opting to start their own companies, have the freedom to kind of be in the driver's seat. You can see employment, especially the service industries, the restaurant industries, the manufacturing distribution industries are having a hard time filling positions. Adding bonuses to adding people to their payroll, and it's been a very, very challenging time to get people back. So that's something that we'll talk about. I know you guys get to see the video, but if you really think about it, having the decision for especially moms to be able to stay home and spend time with their kids. I know now that the kids are in work back in school. That's kind of forcing maybe some of the moms to go back to work, but it's really interesting to see how this dynamic has unfolded. Just being able to, and I had a really good experience talking to some parents last night that were able to get to practice. Practice was at a certain time. Parents that are having multiple kids in sports, having that flexibility to be able to get to the kids' sporting events. Maybe one parent is deciding to stay home because they got so used to adapting, having to make changes, in their expenses. Some people are tapping into their retirement fund. Some people are actually kind of going in debt. I mean, the whole lifestyle change with people deciding not to go to work is really, really, really interesting. So I think companies going to have to really get innovative about getting people back to work. And don't know, what some of the things that they're going to do, but I think maybe adding a level of flexibility to it. Here's a good article. Just read an article about a husband and wife that both quit because they do not want to go back due to the quality of family time that evolves from being able to work from home. That life is just so important, and continuing on with this, Faith, but I was just reading the article that people are deciding to make decisions about work because of the quality of life, being able to spend more time with their families.
Right. Well, that's one of the biggest things, I think, what people are missing out of it. I mean, first of all, we're in the middle of one of the biggest historical moments, and we're going to be, 15, 20 years from now looking back on it, and hopefully, or maybe not hopefully, but maybe it has changed the entire idea of workplace.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of the type of job you should have, the 9 to 5, the working every day, having shifts, part-time, full-time, right? I have seen, as someone who transitioned in my last job, I did a great part of the Great Resignation, and in April,
Right.
over 4 million people quit their jobs. Now, and from, we saw the video that in July, it shows that we have more jobs available than people looking for jobs.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you said, the quality of life is so important to people now. And it's 100% attached to the fact that it was COVID, right? People have passed away. We have missed out on seeing our family members for holidays. We haven't been able to travel. And now we're watching 2 years of our lives like we blinked. Wow, 2020 just happened, right? Now 2020 ends in a couple months, right? So we just watched 2 years go by so fast because of this pandemic. And people are starting to think, well, where's my life going, right? Where am I living it, or is it just pushing me along? And that's why I think quality of life has boosted so much. And Dad, I don't know. I mean, you during the pandemic, you were with a teenager, and then he went to school. It feels like everything happened so fast. But for me, as I transitioned, I worked in the pandemic in a 9-to-5 type situation. We were still traveling, still trying to operate normal. And then at the end of it, I resigned early this year in May and moved and started my own business and started prioritizing kind of the stuff that disappears fast. You know what I mean? When you saw that the amount of people that passed away to COVID, or the fact that we couldn't go and see our family members, like I said, that's a moral hit to us, a lot of humans, right? Because we want to, at the end of the day, look at life, and they call it the YOLO economy. It's the only live once economy. People are now splurging on trips, buying the cars they want, moving with the people they love, having the kids they want to have. And then they're just like, we'll worry about work later, right? Because there was this idea before the pandemic that you continuously want to rise in the economy and the social order, right? And that comes from what you do for a living and what you did, where you went to college and when you graduated, and are you on Wall Street? Are you not on Wall Street? Are you a CEO? Are you top in your business? Are you in branding, right? Everybody was big on your LinkedIn and who you are and what you work for, and who you work for is obviously you can look up people's salaries. And that's such a big driver of who we were as humans before this pandemic. And now people are taking jobs that it was like, all right, I'll work for a nonprofit. And it's maybe a fourth of the income I was making the years before 2020, but I'm home more and I see my kids more, and I can take my daughter to school, and I can coach football after school, right? All these things you're starting to see in play, that the priority of how much money people make is no longer as important as it once was.
Oh man, I can relate. You know what? When you jumped off, I mean, and I'm glad we got both of us back, but it gave me an opportunity. I got to experience last night. I started to coach, and I actually mentioned to the parents that we would like to start practice a little bit earlier because of it's going to start getting darker, and the response was great because, there were always, there was one parent or two parents that said, you know what, that would work because, we're working from home. Or it's kind of nice because a lot of parents got more than one kid playing sports. It gives them more flexibility. The quality of life and being able to experience this over the last year, what's positive that come out of it is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
When especially if life is just so short and people know somebody that they come to realization that you've lost that loved one or someone close to you, and realize that you only get one chance in life to live. Right? And that it's not necessarily chasing the almighty dollar all of the time. That you can just have enough money and survive, but just being able to, I look at my life right now, and what that reminded me yesterday when I was hanging out with those kids, how fast life goes, how fast you guys grow up. It just seemed like yesterday that Devin was out there at 8 years old, just like yesterday. That's why I say with people, man, just take the time to enjoy life. And sometimes you have to make that decision about work. And that's what's happening. And companies are going to have to adapt.
Well, I want to dive into what the very issue is, because a lot of people, a lot of the articles that I read, and to those of you tuning in, we're talking about the Great Resignation. They said it's a workplace issue. This is a workplace issue. And I had the chance to work with someone who is originally from Canada for the last 2 years. And when we talk about Canadian healthcare and the quality of life there and the stuff they prioritize in comparison to what us Americans prioritize, man, we are doing it wrong, right? America, when it was built on, we sold the idea of the streets of gold, right? Jobs and money. This is where you go to build a career, and this is where you go, right? We have that we have built on the backs of immigrants and hardworking people and blue collar people, right? People that didn't even think about the work they were doing. They were thinking about the challenge they were achieving by getting this money, right? They were taking care of their families, right? And so over time, we have built this hamster wheel personality in the workplace in America, right?
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. And we are always trying to, right, we're always going. And the vacation days they give you are like 5 vacation days a year or 10 vacation days a year. And if you wrap your head around that, that's crazy. 2, a lot of people have to commute far to go to their jobs, right? Because the cost of living in a lot of the cities we have, which have the most jobs, is ridiculous, right? We talk about New York City, we talk about Los Angeles, we talk about Miami, we talk about Dallas, Houston, Chicago. It's expensive to live in these places. So you have to make a lot of money. And you have to live close or far away. You got to have a good job and a good car to get you to make a lot of money, right? It's a constant routine where parents get home at 6 or 7 p.m. You barely can have family dinner, and then you wake up and do it all over again. And for Americans, we see, okay, this is a great job. I have good benefits. Maybe my boss is a butthead, but it's all right. I have a good job. I have good benefits, right? We always say that. Maybe my boss is a racist, but it's a good job and it's good benefits, and I need the benefits, right? The boss is a sexist, or they're rude, or they bully people. It's a workplace issue in America, and people are starting to see, why am I still doing this to myself?
Right.
Why am I taking the bare minimum of quality of life because I think that I need to survive? And here's what I'm starting to see is that this is the perfect opportunity for people to step away from that lifestyle, that workplace lifestyle that you need the 9 to 5 because those are the only jobs available. 2, now everything is remote working. Now companies are providing positions that, oh yeah, you don't even have to live in the same city. You don't even have to live in the same state. Just apply for our job, and what do you provide for us? And for someone who works remote, I work for 3 companies that are remote, right? Zoom and online remote meetings and Slack and all the stuff that we have created as softwares that bring people together from all across the country to work for one business is probably one of the benefits for people and the quality of life that we have had since 2019, 2020 and 2021, we have seen the growth of what remote business is. And we saw it happen with remote learning. And even though kids are going back, it was still a success in a way, right? Because we still were able to connect with each other through digital opportunity.
Right.
And that's the other day, workplace issues was a big thing. We were working jobs that at the end of the day, the quality was terrible for a lot of people.
Well, I think another, and this is somewhat, they talk about Generation 8Z, this instant gratification, with the pandemic and the CARES Act, a lot of people have taken advantage of that. And, to the perception that people are lazy. And as a result of them being lazy and taking advantage of that, they've gotten used to being home. And now that CARES Act is running out, now they got to make a decision. And some of the decisions that these people are making is, okay, I'll just make half what I got. And I really enjoyed being able to be home with my family and being able to have a lot more flexibility. And maybe some of the people, like you should have done, they decided, you know what, during this time, I'm going to think about how do I get in the driver's seat and run my own business. So I can create more flexibility so I can be at my kids' games and so I can go to my kids' parent teachers conference. How do I create that dynamic for myself? And that's what has happened over this past year. And now that the CARES Act is running out, and I mean, I do think that in a year a lot more people are going to go back to work because they have to. But I think this has definitely been a paradigm shift on how people think about work.
Yeah, for sure. Because there was a long time we held so much, work held a lot of power in our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Literally at the end of the day, our houses, our healthcare, which is kind of still crazy to me that healthcare is so expensive in America, but that's a whole nother conversation we could have. Canada's doing it right over there. But when we talk about how much power work and jobs have had over our lives, it makes so much sense because they provided exactly what we needed. A salary, health benefits, at the end of the day, the purpose for our life. And a lot of people surround the purpose to life is the career. But as we saw, as we were sent home, we weren't around these relationships before to work. We were around our kids or our families. We were like, I can't do this. Or some people were like, I've never wanted to do this. I always wanted to do this. I always wanted to do this. I always wanted to start my own business, which was hard to do during the pandemic. But a lot of people you're starting to see now switch over to now working in the industries they wanted to work in, right? Or they started their own, like I've seen a lot of people start their own do-it-your-own businesses where either they're making necklaces or candles, and it's a huge success, right? Because they finally have the time to do it. And now they're making more money. This is a thing I've seen. They're making more money doing what they're doing now that they love to do than they are from what they were doing that they needed to do. And go ahead.
You said something that really resonated with the workplace. The workplace comes with a lot of baggage, a lot of toxic stuff. When you're talking about harassment, you're talking about bullying, you're talking about just that whole, I was in that
competitive infrastructure.
Yeah, it's the one thing that people, they just kind of bite their tongue and they just go to work and then they come home and that attitude and the culture that you in all your day carries on to how you and your family interact. Because so, I think because and I'm saying, do what you love, the money will come. It's determined how it was used. But very, very seldom do people are in an environment where there's not some type of dynamic that makes it hard to go to work. Whether it's your boss, whether your coworkers, whether it's the traveling, all that stuff, makes it really hard to work. And so those are all different variables that really push what people have made a decision about over this past year, Faith, to say, I mean, look at you. You have the freedom. I call you up. You say, well, I got a conference call in about 5 minutes. But when you were at LIU, you were like, I couldn't even call you during the day.
Well, I didn't have service. If you ever lived in New York and worked in New York, service half the buildings in New York City, which is crazy.
But you know what I'm talking about. It was like you would get home at 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock almost every night because you were working so many hours.
Or I'd have to go back for games. And I had a lucky job. I want people, like, if you work in college athletics, first of all, there are no hours. They don't exist. You just work when events happen. And that could be great or it could be bad, right? You could be there till 12 a.m. or you could leave at 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's a nonstop 24/7 job in comparison to a typical 9 to 5 where you check in and check out. But when you talked about like people go, and at the end of the day, working is a competitive space, right? You're continuously trying to achieve what your goals within your workplace. When the pandemic happened, so before the pandemic, you go to work, you're grinding, you're constantly tense, you succeed or you don't succeed, you have a good day or you have a bad day. That's just what happens, right? We all been through it. You come home, you can go out to dinner with your friends. You can go see your family members. You can go out to eat and just chill. You can go to the beach. You can do wherever you are. In New York City, you can go anywhere, right? When the pandemic happened and people were then forced to do the same amount of grueling work at home and dealing with the same amount of people at home, but they lived alone. And then because they lived alone, they couldn't go see their friends because everybody was scared. and then all the restaurants will close down, and the cool stuff you do in your city or wherever you live will shut down, right? Mental health creeps in, and you start to realize, like, I hate what I do, I hate my life, I hate this, I hate that. And a lot of people became depressed because they could not figure out the balance anymore with the grueling schedule of work and working a job that maybe they didn't love, but they needed to do at the moment, and comparison, and then not being able to see their family. That's a lot of weight on your shoulders, especially when they're in the middle of a pandemic and people are dying. You don't know how to catch this stuff. You still weren't wearing masks at one point. We were confused, right? And so people now, in a form, a lot of people in a way resent the idea of having to go into work and deal with people that you don't like and deal with, because that's a big thing. Like, I have been lucky to have a lot of great bosses, right? And I work with a great foundation. I work in a lot of great situations with people who are very personable. They know how to understand the quality of life for their people. That stuff matters when you pick a boss, but not everybody has the ability to do that. And during that time period, when the pandemic hit, mental health was a major thing. And they talked about in the videos, people were like, man, we can't live our lives this anymore. They're cutting off years of my life by having to deal with this and not see my families, right? Or if you lived in the pandemic and you lived somewhere cold without family. That's a big thing, right? Seasonal depression, seasonal anxiety, right? You live in New York and it's snowy and slushy, but you also live by yourself and you're stuck in the house all the time. You can't go out and get the sun. That's when we started to see these people were like, I gotta go. I gotta switch it up. I gotta change something. I gotta move from my family in Florida and we can try something there. That is kind of what happened, is people moved as well after they quit these jobs, because it was just the idea, we have all relocated for a job. But it was the idea of, man, there's so much more to this life than where my feet are. It's about, what makes me feel happy, what fulfills me on a daily basis. Am I living the life I want to live? Because now we're starting to see that it is so short.
Yeah.
And that to me is something I saw. When you talk to a lot of people, they were like, man, I couldn't do it anymore because I was doing this job. And this, first of all, this movement is very much pushed by people who work in hospitality, restaurants, service, because they had to deal with people every day and they were put at risk, health risk every day, right? We saw that with doctors as well. But when we talk about young people, from first year out of college to 25, 26, where they're still working that job, that's their first job, it's their first opportunity, it's the first city they lived in, right? They still are single with their friends. When you see that they live alone and then they're working these jobs that maybe they don't love, but they pays the bills, it's a job they have to have on their resume before they can jump to the next job. A lot of those people were like, no, we quit, we resign. We don't even know because they're still young. They don't even know the benefit of, resignation. For us, resignation is like, oh, you mean I could just quit? I'm out. For a lot of people, they see resignation as a bad thing, right? It's a term of either you had to resign because something happened, or you're not having a smooth transition. Now resignation is like, oh yeah, I'm moving out. I'm doing something new. I'm starting my own business. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. At the end of the day, I didn't like you guys. I'm out.
Yeah.
That's super taboo. But now it's the norm.
Yeah, it's just you redefining what your values are. Yeah. As a person and as a family. This pandemic has given us an opportunity as a country, as a people, to really look inside, look ourselves in the mirror about what's important. And when it comes to family, there's nothing more important than family. Yep.
And for a lot of people, when we're young, we put our lives kind of on hold, right? To chase and set a good foundation so you can build on top of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When all this happened, it was almost like a lot of people were like, why am I forcing myself to do stuff that I don't love to do? And it was very interesting. You see a lot of people were struggling. They had internal battles that some people have like maybe 20 years in with the company they've been at, right? You see a lot of 40, 50-year-olds like, I've been working at the same company and I've achieved everything I need to achieve, but I'm still not fulfilled. And that's why you see that transition for a lot of older people, transition into working with nonprofits and foundations and stuff that fulfill them emotionally and morally. It makes them feel like they're actually making a difference because they did what they were supposed to be doing, which we're taught by society to do, is set a great job, get a good foundation so you can build your life, right? And you don't have to worry about not being able to retire. we always we throw that out there. You're not gonna be able to retire if you don't get a good job. You're not gonna be retired. But you're starting to see people is now they're working jobs that they're comfortable with working the rest of their lives because it's stuff they love to do. And we're starting to see that transition. But one thing I want to dive into is we're nearing the last 6-7 minutes of the show, that what on earth are these companies going to do? Right? We got all these jobs asking for people, but nobody applying for the jobs.
They're going to have to provide a valid business reason to why people should come back, or provide a culture that families are going to buy into. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of it is, a lot of companies want their people there in their office, but I mean, you can be as productive out of office, and they got to realize that people now have tapped into this quality of life. Yeah. They've tapped into it. There's people that are retired. Your uncle has retired, but he still wants to do something. I mean, he likes the ability to be able to sit in his office and make the phone call when he wants to make the phone call.
Yeah.
And be at home and walk his dog, and have his grandchildren come visit him, And companies are going to have to really, and obviously compensating people for more money is one thing, but I just think they're going to have to get really innovative in ways to maintain their productivity and maintain good quality people. Because right now the script has switched, where there's more jobs and there's more jobs out there than the people that are looking for jobs.
Exactly. Yeah. 62.8% of human resource people have stated that hybrid work, which means you work in the office and then out of office and in office weekly, has boosted productivity for companies.
Oh, wow.
Which this hits the nail on the head to me, that this is a workplace issue, right? The idea of sending people in Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, is no longer appealing to people. One, because they was already home. But two, because probably the companies created this space that just was not a comfortable environment for people to grow, right? In order for these companies to, I think, bring people back to work, one, eventually the CARES Act benefits was going to be a big thing. These benefits, I feel like, shouldn't be something that's like, oh yeah, we're helping you. I feel like the benefits should be like, we want you to have this because we want you to have a good quality of life so that you can do a good job. And I think that's like a thing that you miss on some of these big organizations, is the personable relationship between CEO to their company, their coworkers and their employees is missing, right? I feel like the benefits need to be better. And I feel like they shouldn't be like a privilege. I feel like they should be a necessity. I also think that the quality of life needs to be prioritized for the employees. I feel like remote working should be something that's an option, because some people may just work better at home.
I like the word option. Option.
And if they're not doing a good job, then you can fire them because they chose to work at home. And if they're still not producing, they're just not a good worker. Do you know what I mean? Like, right. Giving people more responsibility over how they do their job, I feel like is a big thing. And treating people like an adult is another big thing, because I feel like a lot of companies and organizations is very much micromanaging how people do their jobs, where they're doing their jobs, who they're doing their jobs with, is a big deal on the productivity of how people do their jobs. And then another thing I think is flexibility. At the end of the day, you got to pay people what they're worth. A lot of people, and there's a lot of organizations, I told you this status. First of all, if you've ever looked on Indeed, if you ever looked on LinkedIn, you ever look at how the jobs are offered to people, a lot of people want to pay $15 an hour to people who have master's degrees. And they're basically saying, we're doing you a favor because we're giving you a job. And it's kind of like, if you create good compensation for positions and you create great benefits for positions, more people are going to want to work for your organization, because it shows that you understand that they deserve the compensation that they should do off of their education, off of who they are, and the quality of work that they do. Mm-hmm. We have put the idea of a raise and bonuses out there as something that you chase after, and you strive after, and it's never just given, right? There needs to be a better compensation for people who are working within these big time industries. Whether we're talking about Wall Street, the young guys who work 20 hours a day, whether we're talking about hospital workers, doctors, nurses, teachers, right? That's a big job, right? And even restaurant and hospitality workers who work and deal with Americans every single day, because anybody who knows that is a hard job to do, especially when people who have never worked in hospitality come into a restaurant. That's just for me. And then people, every day we're seeing all these McDonald's, Wendy's, we're seeing everybody quit their jobs there because the money just isn't great. We got to do better for people in this country. We got to have to build more than a competitive nature and more of a quality of life built structure for society, I think. But yeah, that's what I would do if I was a CEO, right? I would go off of, we're going to have kumbaya sessions. If you want to live home, stay home and work, stay home and work. Just know you have made an agreement that you will be overly productive at home. And if you're not, then it won't work out. But understanding that we have to evolve with the times, because I don't think that we're going to go back to normal anytime soon. No. Even though hopefully COVID goes away, I don't think that the idea of how to work, where to work, will ever go back to what it was.
It is the new normal.
Yeah.
It is the new normal. And I'm just curious to see how we transition to that. I think we're forced to. Companies are forced to.
Yeah. So. I'll say this: if you're not creative in this society, and you think you can just move out into entrepreneurship, you're gonna struggle. Mm-hmm. I would say my biggest advice to people who are moving during these times is embrace your creativity, because, man, people are selling doorknobs. People are, you know what I mean? Like, people are building ebooks. People are going to become keynote speakers, and people are finally getting out on their own and doing the stuff they think they're good at, other than the stuff that their college told them to stick to. And so I do want to point out this: Nike closed down their offices for a week with paid work days, and gave all of their workers a break at the corporate office. Do that. Like, it's okay, right? We all will still work. I still work on my days off, but it's nice to give people the option to be like, hey, take some time away from this, because we're still in the middle of some crazy stuff, and you're still in a crazy competitive environment. We demand a lot out of you, right? It's just beautiful that creativity and kindness is starting to be prioritized over our normal structure, and it is encouraging to me. It is. But no, awesome show. I love talking about it. If you guys are tuned in late, this is the Great Resignation. If you like the show, share the show. I thought it was a cool topic. I can't believe I forgot about it, because we're in the middle of it. 10 years from now, maybe we'll pull this show up and be like, yeah, you remember when that happened? And no one's ever working in an office ever again. And maybe we're all on hovercrafts. Who knows? But we are watching history in the making, and I love that we were able to talk about it today. To those of you who joined us, thank you for your patience, and thank you for staying with us. We always make it work. Most importantly, thank you to Amazon Fire, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Apple TV, and of course, our key platform out of Phoenix, Arizona, E360 TV. Again, this is Faith Family Focus. We use our faith as a vehicle to help heal and strengthen others on their path to the strengthening family core. And of course, our slogan:
let go, let God, let go, let faith, let go, let love.
Everyone have a wonderful Friday and a really wonderful holiday weekend.